Reverend Matt Coles and his wife Vicky are contemplating a huge life change. They're coming for their first meeting with the Army to quiz London District's senior chaplain and his wife about what it really means for couples to accept this sort of calling. Action Minister Matt is pretty sold on the idea already. He loved his time at Catterick on a chaplaincy acquaint visit, but his wife has reservations. At the minute, she has a career in London. They'd like to have a family. They need to thrash out how army life would impact all of that. Who better to ask the advice of than a Padre's wife of 17 years?
No, I think it's very important that the people come in with very clear views and then they stay because they've come with the right knowledge about it. So no, I think it's very clear, very important to give my own sort of truthful opinion and for them to take that on board and to work it out for themselves then.
It's quite brutal. They didn't hold any punches. They were very honest and quite candid, and that was also encouraging because they were able to say where their strength came from, and it wasn't from their own sort of backing, but it was from God. And if you're called to that sort of ministry, as hard as it is, then God will look after you. So I take great comfort from that.
The important thing for me is that Matt is fulfilled in what he does, and he is serving God's will to the best of his ability. And if that means joining the army, if that means going around the world, if that means him being deployed, then absolutely I'll be right there with him.
Vicky's aware that she'll have to make personal sacrifices, but that there'll be great opportunities and experiences too. Although the separation in particular will add a strain they're not used to.
Something we'll continue to pray about, and hopefully it will continue to be the right thing for both of us to do.
The shortage of men and women of the cloth, of all denominational fabric, has been described as desperate.
Well, I was speaking with the Chaplain General recently, and we were talking of something like 34 units that didn't have chaplains, and these were frontline units. But as it stands at present, we've been given permission to recruit another 25, which is quite a serious challenge for all of us to do.
There's a particular lack of Church of England chaplains, but that doesn't mean that entry standards will be lowered to plug the gaps quickly. Reverend Matt will still have months of selection procedures ahead, although he seems like an ideal candidate. He's 31, sporty, considered a commission but couldn't reconcile being a Christian with taking up arms. Then he got inspiration to reach out to soldiers spiritually. So you went into the ministry specifically to be a military minister?
Absolutely right.
You don't want to be in a boring backwater parish, you want to be at the thick of it.
I think I really enjoy talking to non-Christians. I enjoy my work at the Rugby Chaplain and getting alongside young people, dynamic alpha males, getting stuck in and being a positive role model for them, and also presenting them with an alternative lifestyle, because these guys are very unchurched. They're not going to come to church themselves, so the church has to go to them. In this context, there is no garrison church, or if it is, it's really badly attended, or it's because people have to. So you're constantly talking to people who aren't saved, people who don't know about Jesus Christ, people who have no idea that God even loves them, let alone what the inside of a church looks like, and that's really exciting.
But it can get a bit too exciting at times, and are peaceable preachers prepared for that?
On operations, you really do feel as though you are really needed and that you are really doing God's work in that midst, be that through giving of the sacraments, in services, or simply undergoing the dangers that your guys and girls undergo as well, being that presence with them and supporting them in what they need to do, even though you are unarmed, of course, but it's understanding their human needs and supporting them daily, and their families knowing that they're being supported as well. I wouldn't turn it as a career, actually. I would say it was a vocation that I would recommend to people for whatever length of time that they felt that was appropriate for and that God was calling them to.
So basically it's now all about whether your wife agrees?
Yeah, in a large part. Certainly I'm gunning for it. That said, I wouldn't attempt it without 100% committed backing. It would be a waste of my time and it would put too much strain on our marriage.
We'll be following Matt and Vicky right through the Padre recruitment process. Julie Knox, Forces News.